Hello everyone, I am Tip Top Gaming here today with another video. In today's video, I'm going to be combining two things that I love, Magic the Gathering and Marvel. In this video specifically, I'm going to be turning the original Iron Man movie into a Magic the Gathering set. There are a couple things I need to go over before we get started. This is not a full-size set. This set only has 15 cards. However, only the most important items and characters inside of the movie are inside of this set. As well, there is no new mechanic. With only 15 cards, there's not enough cards to flesh out a mechanic. However, there is two new creature types, hero and villain, as well as synergy with other cards. This theme will be expanded on more when I cover future movies. Also note that 15 is not a set number, just the amount of cards that made sense to make for this specific movie. A movie like Infinity War would have many more. Let's get into this. Let's start with the three Mythic Rares. The first is Tony Stark. The Tony Stark card is supposed to show his kidnapping and then transformation into Iron Man. Tony Stark is a 4-cost 3/3 legendary creature human. He has the ability, tap. Exile Tony Stark with 2 time counters. At the beginning of your upkeep, remove a time counter. If Tony Stark has no time counters on him, return him to the battlefield transformed as Iron Man Mark 1. This is kind of supposed to represent the time he was kidnapped. In most of the origin stories for the heroes, this kind of transformation card will be most likely present. So this card basically has Tony go missing for a couple turns, only to return as Iron Man Mark 1. Iron Man Mark 1 is a 3/5 with reach and menace. When he enters the battlefield, he also deals 4 damage to up to 3 target creatures. Whenever he is dealt damage, he gets +1/-1 until end of turn. The idea here is that Iron Man has a limited amount of attacks, so he starts off really strong, blasting 3 creatures. Then after he attacks, his armor slowly starts getting worn down. In the movie, you can see his armor get locked up after being hit. He also has reach, as while he can kind of fly, he ends up falling back down. Reach seemed like a good compromise. He has menace because he's a giant creature, and of course that'd be menacing. The next card is the villain of the movie, Obadiah Stane. Obadiah Stane is a 6-cost 2/2 legendary creature human. He has the ability, tap, play black, red, destroy target creature artifact with converted mana cost 5 or greater. Transform Obadiah Stane into Iron Monger. Put a number of +1/+1 counters equal to that creature or artifact converted mana cost. He basically destroys an opponent's creature/artifact and uses it to boost himself, similar to how Obadiah takes Tony's armor and turns it into the Iron Monger. Originally, this ability stole something and then transformed him. However, in gameplay, destroying something worked better and made the card overall better. The idea that Iron Monger is one step ahead of your opponent's creatures really adds to the card. One of the major issues that I always had to balance is balancing the character's abilities in the MCU and how a Magic card would actually work in Magic. Iron Monger is a 1/1 human villain. He's not that weak. Remember the counters? With flying and menace. This is a clear improvement over the Mark 1. However, Iron Monger can't block creatures with flying without getting a penalty of -2/-2. This is due to the icing problem seen on the Mark 2 and Mark 1 that Tony fixes in the Mark 3. Iron Monger also has the ability, when Iron Man deals combat damage to a player, that player sacrifices a creature or artifact he or she controls. Overall, this is a powerful card. It shares the fact that it's a flip card with Tony Stark, as any character that really has a major transformation will get a card like that, whether it's villain, hero, or even other characters. After this, the last mythic is Iron Man Mark 3. He's a 4-cost 4/4 legendary creature, human hero. You may have noticed that the last Iron Man didn't have the hero creature type. The last suit was just to help him survive, not so much be a hero. The Mark III is used to help others. Mark III has flying, however not menace due to its much more slim design. Whenever Mark III attacks, you may have Iron Man Mark III deal 2 damage to any target. Last of all, you can pay 1 blue and 1 red to give Iron Man +1 attack. Honestly, this card was really hard to design. How do I make it powerful, but not too expensive? Overall, this set could change. If you guys have any ideas on cards, let me know in the comments down below. In this whole set, mana represents power, so giving the Mark III more power gives it more attack. Normally this ability is just a red thing, but in Tony fashion it's a little different. Overall, this is supposed to represent Iron Man flying through the sky, blasting things below, attacking at the big threat. Of course, there'll be lots more Iron Man suits, and all of them will be different, so I had to make sure I left room to design the other interpretations of his suit. Wow, this is already a long video. Let's get into another main character from the movie. Let's start with Pepper. Again, there'll be multiple versions of Pepper. So, if you want to suggest any changes for this card, or ideas for future cards, let me know in the comments down below. Pepper Potts is a 4-cost. Wow, there's a lot of 4 costs. 1/4 legendary creature human with the ability, when Pepper Potts enters the battlefield, you may search your library and or graveyard for a card named Tony Stark. Reveal it and then put it in your hand. Then you can pay 1 white and tap it. Target creature you control gains protection from the color of your choice. One choice I had to make with this card is what it fetches. I decided that the original Tony Stark, pre-kidnapping, was more dependent on her, so it made more sense for her to fetch him. On top of that, she's always helping him, so she can protect Tony or really anything else on the board. The next character is less known but still important. His name is Raza. He's the bad guy who captures Tony. He's a 3-cost 2/3 that when he enters the battlefield, he gains control of target creature an opponent controls until end of turn. Kinda like kidnapping. However, he also has the ability, whenever you gain control of a permit you don't own, Raza deals 2 damage to any target. This is one of the most powerful, and his second ability may need nerfing. It's still a fun card, and potentially it's a commander, although there might be better options. Next we have James Rhodes, a 3-cost 2/2 legendary creature, human, with the ability, when James Rhodes enters the battlefield, target creature you control gains +2/+2 and first strike until end of turn. Overall, in this movie, Rhodey just simply assists and boosts Tony, so that's what he does on the card. Rhodey will get more fun with his future cards, but for now, he does nothing more than assisting. Last but not least is Jensen, the scientist who saved Tony's life. He's a 4-cost 3/3 with the ability, tap, sacrifice Jensen, exile target creature an opponent controls. If the exiled creature was a villain, all creatures you control get +2/+0 and indestructible until end of turn. In the movie, Jensen sacrifices himself in order to let Tony escape, and in a very flavor win, this card does a very similar thing. That does it for all the main characters in the set. I know what you're thinking. Where's X character or Y character? I took a look at the full character list, and only picked characters that had a pretty decent part in this movie. Characters like Nick Fury and other characters will get cards in future movies. There is one instant in the set. That instant is Temporary Paralysis. It is a 1-cost blue instant that says, tap target creature an opponent controls. It doesn't untap during its opponent's next untap step. This ability is seen all over in blue, and so that makes sense. Obadiah throughout the movie uses this tech to disable opponents like Tony Stark or Raza, and with this card, you can too. The rest of the cards in the set are artifacts. The movie is very tech heavy, so a lot of what's seen fits into the category. First, let's talk about 2 characters that didn't make the other list. Dummy and You. For those of you who don't know, Dummy and You are Tony's 2 robots who he yells at throughout the whole movie. They are both very similar in their cards, as they are both 2-cost 1/5s with Defender. They both have an ability that states that target creature you control gets a boost, except theirs are inverted. Dummy gives you more attack but less toughness. You boost toughness but reduces attack for any creature you control. This combo allows you to inefficiently manage your creature's power and toughness to avoid your creature's peril. Yes, I said inefficiently. Next, we have the 2 arc reactors. The big artifact, the first one, is a 2-cost artifact that states, tap, add colorless for each charge counter on arc reactor +1. Whenever an artifact with converted mana costs more than the amount of charge counters on arc reactor, put a charge counter on arc reactor. Like I said earlier, mana is equal to power. However, a simple mana rock isn't fun, so I decided to use the slot and change it. So, later into the game, this thing produces more mana. I think this is actually pretty balanced, and it could get overpowered quickly with something like Proliferate. The second one is a 1-cost artifact, where I think this one is one of the more powerful cards in the entire set, and it says, tap, put a charge counter on Mini Palladium Arc Reactor, add triple generic mana. You take damage equal to the amount of charge counters on Mini Palladium Arc Reactor. The idea is that Mini Palladium Arc Reactor produces a lot of power, but it's slowly killing Tony. So does this Arc Reactor. I could see this being used in Commander. Turn 1 having 4 mana. Or turn 1, I guess, having 3 mana. Turn 2 having 5. That's no joke. I think this card could use some nerfing. Maybe it adds 3 counters and, like, gets really insane. Or maybe you can only tap it, like, twice. Something like that may be necessary, as this is really crazy. Sol Ring is already crazy, and that one adds 2. This one adds 3. Yes, it has a downside, but things like Mana Crypt are also still used, even though they have a downside. Next, we have a really fun board wipe effect. The Jericho Missile. It's a 5-cost artifact that says, pay 5, tap, sacrifice Jericho Missile, deal 8 damage to all creatures. Overall, this is a fun colorless board wipe. It's probably also overpowered in a way I don't really see. Things that are colorless have to be very carefully designed, as they could fit in literally any deck for the most part. This board wipe is a basically universal board wipe, except if you can give your creatures 8 toughness, I guess they survive. Or if your opponent's creatures don't have 8 toughness, they don't die. Next, there are 3 pieces of equipment. The first 2 are pretty basic and are from when Tony is building his suit. We have Prototype Repulsor, which is a 2-cost equipment with Equip 1. An equipped creature has tap, deal 1 damage to any target. It's very simple, but it makes sense. It's just a repulsor, and it's a prototype. Then we have Flight System, which is a 2-cost equipment that has an equip cost of 2 and gives equipped creature flying. Again, simple, fun, but realistic. Overall, I think that these pieces of equipment they're just okay. I know I said that it'd be, very important stuff to the story, and overall, I believe that these items Dummy and You are kind of the least important to the story out of all of the items. This set has been so fun to make. If you guys want to see all the cards together, you can check the link in the description down below. If you want to see more content like this, please hit that like button and subscribe. A sequel to this video is in production now, so if you guys want to see that, you guys gotta check back soon. See y'all next time. Y'all?